All right, welcome back. As previously discussed, it was a Kirk victory, which was news to him as well. And
so I didn't prep for my 30
I was going to
seconds.
say, which means this next portion is going to be fucking fantastic. Jason, do you have the time on the clock for Kirk? I knew you didn't. So this is kind of like
I have it.
This is giving me an extra thought. Okay, there we go.
So there we go. So 30 seconds are on the clock for you to give us a award-winning synopsis. There's no pressure of back of the box, but the time starts when you do.
Okay, a rat monkey was rescued, quote unquote, off a very mysterious island and brought back to New Zealand and put into the zoo. Lionel and his newly found girlfriend decide to go to the zoo where his overbearing mom is tailing him and accidentally gets bit by this weird monkey, which unleashes this zombified something curse on everybody that she bites or touches. Throughout the movie, Lionel and Paquita, I think is her name, are falling in love.
Stop.
Fuck. I needed 15 more seconds.
I think you needed like 38 more seconds or something on it, but
man,
I mean,
yeah, and it comes down to
a tough one, though.
It comes down to a battle between does he choose Paquita or his mom?
Mom,
yes, his mom.
Yep, there it is.
It was. This is a good movie to do for Mother's Day.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, yeah, it is. But before we go through all our
I don't have to do
different,
the walk of shame.
I mean, you would have.
Yeah,
but luckily you don't. You don't have to. But before we get into talking through all the columns, we have to go to the
behind the scream.
Yeah, so let's dive into the tale of the tape of this movie. So the movie was directed and wrote by legendary director Peter Jackson, who later went on to direct Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit trilogy. He's very well known. Dead Alive was co-written by Jackson, Steven Sinclair, and additional contributions from Fran Walsh. The budget for this movie was around $3 million. Excuse me. And it grossed over 242,000 movies. So it flopped hard at the box office. It has a 104-minute runtime, but it has also picked up a lot of steam on the video and the streaming services. So the movie, I guarantee, made money, just not at the box office. This is a gore-laced movie. It's an absurd-laced movie. It's actually got itself kind of cult classic status. God bless it. I'm sounding like Jason today, which top-notch gore. It's great. So I'm going to dive into fact number 1 here. So one of the most iconic scenes in Dead Alive involves a lawnmower being used as a weapon against these quote-unquote zombies. This scene was so intense that it took over a week to film and used 300 liters, because we are in New Zealand, they use metrics, which is, I calculated it, 80 gallons of fake blood.
Thanks for doing the math.
Yeah, no problem. The result of that moment was unforgettable in horror movie history. So the amount of blood, but it also gives reference to Evil Dead Rise of how much blood they use there, 1,700 gallons. But fact number 2, I'm going to turn it over to Jason.
Yeah, I mean, you took that one from me, but I also had written down that it was 5 gallons per second.
Oh, wow.
I
wonder how much
scene.
goo and other substances were used during that scene. It was intense.
Yeah, and I actually had written down that it was 300 liters of fake blood used for the entire movie.
It was that scene.
Yeah, a lot of it was on that scene.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the one I have written down is, and I don't know why I wrote this one down, but I thought it was funny, so I wrote it down. But Uncle Les got hit in the groin 5 times in that final act. So
I just took a drink of water. That almost made me spit my water. You're tracking the groin shot. Okay. All right. So my fact.
It was in the facts. It was written down.
You're not wrong, my friend. All right. So fact number 2. So Peter Jackson is very DIY with his special effects. So before he became a big name director, Peter Jackson was known for his DIY approach, meaning why he's gotten some of the parts he is, because he's so involved in it. So he created many of these films, practical effects himself, including he did the stop motion animation for the zombie baby himself. So he was involved in almost all of the special effects in this movie alone. So hard worker. So go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. So Eli Roth actually said that this is the only movie to quench his blood thirst. So I found that quite interesting.
Makes sense.
So I wrote that down.
Eli's crazy.
Yes, he is.
All right, so my last fact here: the Sumatran rat monkey is a actual urban legend. It's a creature responsible for zombie outbreaks in the movie, but it is inspired by a real life legend. It's said it inhabits the jungles of Sumatra, and the design was used as a half monkey, half rat. So it's an actual urban legend that is out there about this monkey.
Yeah, and my name was based off that today, and I actually had that as my last fact. So you took 2 out of my 3 facts. So I don't have another one.
You have the Sumatran. It is Sumatran.
He has a Samaritan.
Yeah, you
rat
have
monkey.
Samaritan. Like
You wrote Samaritan rat monkey on your screen, and it's the Sumatran. I can't.
like, is he like?
It auto-corrected me because I actually had it written down right. I promise. It auto-corrected
That
me.
reminds me of the Indiana Jones, the Samaritan man. You know, the one when he has to kneel under the saw blade.
I had it written down correctly because I actually looked it up, and it
Sumatran.
auto-corrects me.
Yes.
All right, so we'll start talking about it here, but as we go through, we basically combined our ratings and talking all together. So we are going to be talking and rating as we go with story and concept, effects, acting, scare/creep, and then kill/gore. So we'll start in the story/concept. What do you guys got?
This movie is about as absurd as you can make a movie. So it's a very simple story. They're trying to throw together a mother-son type relationship, a son trying to break away from his mother, and then a zombie outbreak wrapped around that. So it's kind of just a very bizarre, absurd type plot, I guess.
With a love story in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's the
with him
breaking
and
away from his mom.
Yeah. I don't know.
She didn't even like him. It was just in the cards. It's okay. It's weird.
So I'm going to use my favorite word here. It's a haremedy.
Oh, I thought you were going to say elements.
It's a haremedy.
Samaritan. It is definitely a haremedy. It is 100% comedy led.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, this is more of a bumbling idiot love story.
Yeah.
That is what this is. He's a bumbling idiot. It has like the tropes of the overprotective mom. I agree with you. Paquita has no desire for this dude, but a card says, like the tarot cards that her grandma's reading says something. But I don't think she dislikes him. I think she's just searching for somebody, and
she's just looking for some booty. It's a different era. It's the 50s.
But I will say, this movie gave me very, very strong Evil Dead vibes, with a lot of like the story, the cuts, how they move things together. I thought it was, I
almost wrote that in my notes 2 or 3 times, connecting it to Evil Dead. I just think Evil Dead did it better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's definitely one of those movies where fate steps in and plays a cruel trick. You know what I mean? It plays a really cruel trick on this love story. So it's
bizarre.
But it's a very bizarre movie, but it worked.
It's basically we pick up a rat, we take the rat to the zoo. The rat bites mom. Mom turns into a zombie. Son doesn't want to kill or destroy or hack up mom. So we then end up with the consequences for not destroying mom. Other zombies happen. A stupid ass uncle that wants to get the family's inheritance. Everybody gets bit. Everybody turns into a zombie. Lawnmower ensues.
And you forget about like that beginning scene where they're in the jungle and the one guy gets bit and they're chopping pieces of him off because they keep seeing different, until they see it's on his head and they just, have to kill him. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's much to say about this story because it's more of like an over the top. So are we ready to kind of rate the story?
Yeah, let's rate
here?
it.
Ready.
Let's rate it.
So Kirk, your movie, I'll let you kind of go first.
Yeah, for the story, it made me laugh. So I couldn't give it a 0. So I gave it a 0.5.
All right. I gave it a 1.
I almost gave it a 1.
I'm not high. I'm not low on it. I think it does enough. Like you have to have something there, and I think they do enough of like subtext and subplot that it gets a 1. Jay, where are you at?
So this movie to me is right in my wheelhouse. I like it.
I like it.
I like it, but I still only gave it a 1 for the story.
All right, so that takes us to our next section with his kind of effects here. So I'll start us off with this. So I was torn between the effects of this because to me there's a very fine line. Like the practical effects that Peter Jackson pulls off, and I didn't know the budget, so $3 million is actually higher than I thought it was going to be. But some of these look really like there's a scene with like a half-eaten body and you just see like the legs or whatever. It looks incredible. And then there's like a scene with like a punch through the head, and I mean it goes right into it, and you see like the fist come right out the mouth, and then he's walking around with the body on his arm, and we have like the light bulb in the head scene. There's a lot of good things, but then for every good scene, like the rat monkey claymation look terrible. Anytime that weird baby thing is in there, it looks so dumb.
At times, the baby looks good.
No, it looks
I
so
thought it looked
dumb.
good at times.
But
I think it was
I
kinda
agree with
dumb.
you. Most of the time, the baby looked dog shit. But there were times that baby looked pretty good. But
You know what the baby looked like? It looked like a diluted Cabbage Patch Kid.
I think they put a midget in a costume in some scenes too. So the practical effects,
Yep.
I think, in this movie, sometimes you're not even sure if you're watching the same movie. There are some practical effects that are freaking top-notch excellent. And then there'll be 2 or 3 right after that you're just like when he was fumbling with the baby out in that park and he's whacking it against the metal rod, and it's just like you can like that's what you did? Like all this other great effects that you did, but you didn't pull through for the whole movie. But there are some excellent practical effects.
Yeah, and I agree with you both. And 2 of the effects I really want to bring up that really stood out to me. One was Uncle Les at the end when he became a zombie. Unfortunately, they didn't show him getting his like spine kind of ripped out a little bit, but when he first came up,
cool.
he's like crawling on all fours and his spine with his neck back.
Reminded me of From Beyond.
Yes. Also, Return of the Living Dead Part 3. And then also, if the nurse, I liked how her head kept going back and forth, things like that, which I thought was really, really cool. But the last one was when the one girl took her face and her face
so cool.
split open at the end.
That was awesome.
That was
The light,
awesome.
like what Mike said, the light bulb was excellent. There was just so many.
Yes.
When he pulled
Well,
that guy's chest cavity out. Oh,
Yes, that was fantastic.
Jeez.
Even the dog coming out of the mom's mouth, I thought looked good, and the nurse that has her head
that's what he just
decapitated.
That's what I
but
just
hangs
said.
on. Oh, I'm sorry.
said. He was feeding her
I
mashed
missed
potatoes down her like.
Yeah.
God, it just
the stuff that looks good. But like, what'd you guys think of? I called
Do
it
that
the
fart out of
mums-
their sphincter.
What'd you guys think of the mumster at the end? The big naked.
I think it was meant to look absurd, and it looked absurd. Like it's a big puppet, and it's absurd. And
Mike's favorite part was the boobs.
those were absurd. That's not even. They're like it was like a blimp. Honestly, it looked like a Thanksgiving Day parade.
I think
on
the
top
word of
that
the day
house.
of this movie is absurd. Like it just like they had to like every second of this movie, the next second had to ramp it up just a little bit, and it got to the end of the movie. I don't even remember the runtime. I said it just was like everything was over the top, and some of it dead center nailed it, and some of it just made you laugh. But they went for it, so I give them having the balls they went for, which is crazy.
I agree.
Well, I think it
I
got
agree.
crazier as it went on, and that last 30 minutes of the movie are
What about the little colon that was like, please,
Bananas.
please, with the liver? Come on, please,
Yeah,
don't kill
that was
me.
the sphincter that got shit out.
what the fuck was going on there?
But I think that was the premise of the movie. It was supposed to do that. Like
It was
increase,
supposed
increase,
to be
increase. Yeah.
absurd. It was definitely.
Oh yeah, like I mean, even the stuff that looks bad, it just looks like cartoonish.
Yeah.
Like it's.
But I think it's on
I mean,
purpose
it was well
to-
done,
Right.
Yeah.
But
Mike, what do you rate it?
so I wanted to give it a 1 because I wanted to be, for as good as things are, like things are really bad. But I ended up giving a 1.5 because I think I lean more towards the practical effects are pretty incredible, and even the stuff, Kirk, to your exact point, it's cartoonish on purpose. So I give it a 1.5. Jay, what do you have?
I'm right there with you. I actually gave this a 1.5 as well. You know what? This movie, it's meant to be the way it was made. And what I mean by that is the practical effects, I think, hit when they're supposed to hit. the little bit of CGI, the puppeteer stuff. I mean, you had to. It's
Was
still,
there
you got to
any
remember.
CGI?
I think the puppet stuff was kind of, but maybe
saw
not.
it.
Maybe not.
The monkey
but,
was stop motion, but I don't think there's any
claymation or something.
Yeah.
But even if not, I still think 1992 is still reminding me of an 80s movie. So
for sure. Yeah. So going into this, I for sure thought I had a 2 out of 2 when it came to the effects, and then rewatching it, there are times I'm like, no, this is a fucking 2. I went with a 1.5. I had to deduct some because there was just, it wasn't consistent throughout of the level of practical effect, but it hit on a lot of them that looked really good. And there's a lot of dead bodies and a lot of things going on in this movie. And to get, I would say 85-90% of them, 1.5. It was really good.
All right, so that takes us to acting. What are we thinking?
I'll start here. So acting to me, there was some bits and pieces with this. I personally thought Lionel, he was played by Tim Bellamy or something like that, I think the name. I liked Lionel in this movie. I think for his role with having to play this, very nerdy, like awkward guy that's like a big time mommy's boy, and then has to tries to kindle this love story, and then all of a sudden has to be this hero against all these rampaging zombies. Just a transformation and having to play that role, I think that's tough. So I thought Lionel should get some definitely kudos for this movie.
Yeah, so I think all the actors did what they were asked to do. I just don't think they were asked to do very good things.
See, I disagree with that with Lionel.
I literally, you could have went, I could have went there. It would have been the same comment of, I don't blame the actors for anything. I think the script was more of hey, look at all the gore and special effects and all the weird shit we're going to do. I just need you guys to just show up. And honestly, I wrote down, it's an over-the-top B movie. Mm-hmm. I put 80s B movie because it did remind me of an 80s movie, but it was an over-the-top 80s B acting movie. I don't think anybody did bad. I don't think anybody did good. There's not one standout performance to me that I'm wow.
If they improv this whole movie, if you told me that, I'd believe you.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the general premise. Go out there and act it and just absurdly do it, because I'm going to use that word a lot. Absurdly do it. And I think they did what they were asked to do. But no.
See, but I disagree though, because I agree to disagree. I agree with you both for 90% of the actors and actresses in this movie, 100%. But personally, I think for Lionel,
he was fine.
You have to, I think
he did what he was asked to do.
Yeah, but I think to be able to change your persona so many times in so many different ways throughout a 101 hour and 41 minute movie, that's tough, because he's playing 5 different roles in this movie.
Yeah, it's so
you got to look at it on that.
This
aspect.
feels like an old 80s B-rate, just schlocking it out, and it was made in 92. So it's
but 92, realistically, could
You
be
still
89.
had, yeah.
It could be 88. It doesn't. It's how it was written at the time.
10-year increments. You only get the 10 years that it's still 90s. You don't
Yeah, but if a movie's made in 1990, you're not I really love that 80s genre. I wish that movie. You'd be all right, no, it has this feel.
But
to
it felt like an
whatever.
early 80s B-rate. Just throw them out there, see what happens.
I think it felt more late 80s to me. It was definitely late 80s.
So Jay,
92.
Jay, what would you rate this early 90s, late 80s feel of acting?
I mean, just for all the, I gave it a .5 just for Lionel. Everybody else,
I'm gonna go next. I gave it a .5 too. You just argued with me on the acting on this, and we're the exact same score.
But I was just saying Lionel.
The only reason I gave it a .5 is because I think the actors did what they were asked to do. They weren't bad.
So I gave it. It's really weird. Every time it's a .5 or a 1. I'm amazed that we're all equal. But I gave it a .5. literally verbatim to the captain over here. Yeah. Nothing else to say. Which takes us into scare/creep. I don't know.
This movie was funny. The little claymation rat kind of was creepy. The baby was a little bit creepy. There was no scariness in this movie. It was, if you go scare/creep/funny, I'm on board. This thing was hilarious. I kick ass for the Lord. Like, come on. Like that. Like,
it's a good line.
Yeah, it's a great line. So yeah, this is a comedy. With a horror premise.
Remedy.
No, this is comedy with a horror stuff kind of wrapped around it.
It's a remedy.
Yeah, an absurdity.
Does it have a couple horror elements?
It's got some elements.
Oh, it's got elements for sure in this.
It's got like one element or two, death and zombies, and it's got a lot of
gore.
There is nothing scary or creepy. There's some gross things at times, but I don't.
Pus.
Yeah, I wasn't looking. Yeah, like the pus out the mom's arm into the
custard. I forgot about that.
That was probably the grossest it got. But I was never like, oh, it's scary, or like I'm so creeped out by it. So it just, I don't think there's a lot in this category that I can even talk. It's not meant to be any of these things. It's meant to be over the top, B movie horror.
Funny.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with you both here. I wrote down verbatim, not scary, not creepy, just very pussy.
Pussy. Very.
Don't be a pussy.
Don't be a pussy.
Don't be a pussy. But it's definitely a remedy.
So would you score this section, Jay?
You go
it's actually you here.
Yeah, this is.
I gave it a 0, so I didn't want to go first. There's no scare, there's no creeps. 0.
I was a 0 as well for the exact same reason. Jay, what do you got?
I mean, 3 zeros all around.
So
it would be very tough to argue anything else.
The only one we've been different on is story, right?
Well, Jason and I are identical. You are the only one that's been different on anything.
Me and you were the same on story. Jason was different.
No,
you were a .5. Jason and I were a 1.
You gave it a 1?
Story.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
I gave it a 1. I said it's neither here nor there.
Continue on.
And then you said, I was going to give it a 1, but I don't know.
Have you seen those commercials? I'd like to see throw the red flag. I want to see the replay.
You can. You'll lose. So that takes us to kills/gore, where there's definitely stuff to talk about here. Tons of killing, tons of gore. Although I will say this, I was a bit disappointed in everything I've heard about this movie, and then the final 30 minutes happened. And then I was like, oh shit. And I'd seen I call it the lawnmower man scene. I had seen that previously, but I didn't, I guess, correlate it to this movie.
Yeah.
But like at the beginning, like the priest falling on the finger, and there were a couple decent kills in there. Like we talked about the nurse with the head flap or whatever. There's some cool scenes of like gore and whatever, but really the final 30 minutes of this movie is
I think the movie's loaded with gore. I mean, the guy that discovered the rat monkey, Jason over here, he gets chopped up into bits. The finger through the priest's chest, like you're saying, the grandma whose face, I guess that's not a kill, but her face is falling apart, her ears falling up. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of death in this movie. They had a party and they killed everybody in the party. And I don't think we have enough time in this podcast. Twice. I don't think we have enough time in the podcast to go over all the gore and death and kills, even though he killed 75% of them with one object. So,
no, hold on, Jay. You said they died twice, but if I remember right, you said if somebody dies and they come back, it's not an actual death.
Ooh.
So I believe that how could they have died?
Flag on you.
How could they have died twice if that's the case? Please explain.
Because it was in the same movie.
He threw the replay flag on you. I remember two.
But I had a rebuttal. Okay. It was because it was the same movie. Most of these what I talked about on the last time was the fact that they came back.
No, we
then
talked
they
about
didn't
Prince
die
of
again.
Darkness. We talked about Prince of Darkness, and they came back, and you said it wasn't. They didn't die. So it's the same movie.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. It's okay. I've already made.
So let me ask you guys this, because there is a ton of death
they
to
walked
go around.
out.
What was your favorite death in this movie? And I can go first if you need me to go first. But what was your favorite death in this movie?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Ooh, I am going to go. I like the probably the girl where her face just splits open.
That's the classic one. Yeah, that's a great one.
I think I'm going with. See, this is tough because I want to go with the chest ripped apart, but I'm going with the punch through the mouth because the punch through the mouth, what I like about it is it's like this straight cut scene where a lot of things are going on. The punch comes through the mouth. And like I said, the guy then walks away with the dead body, like wearing it as a bracelet as he's just dragging it around because he punched through the head. I thought that was fantastic.
So I had two, I like the light bulb, but that didn't really kill her. But my number one is the guy that was placed on top of the lawnmower, and then he struggled to turn it on, and he finally.
He's spinning.
He's spinning, which isn't killing him. He had to grab him to stop
and hold him.
And then he went down into the lawn.
And then he grinded him down, which is cool. But like just the over the top blood explosion.
That was probably a few of those gallons.
You know what the funniest thing about that individual that zombie that was dying on that lawnmower is that zombie was actually from the beginning throughout the whole movie. He's one that shit out the sphincter.
Yeah, that was his. Yeah, that was his intestine running around. He got caught up on the toilet. He got caught up in several different places.
His sphincter.
So what?
You just like saying sphincter for some reason.
I do.
So Jason likes sphincters. So. I gave this a 2. When it comes to kill/gore, I think on either one, if we did these separately, kills would be a 2, gore would be a 2. When you combine it, it's kind of easy for me. Jay, what do you got?
I gave it a 0. I'm kidding. +2. So yeah, no, this is probably one of the easiest 2s I've ever had to rate, just because. I mean, what'd you say earlier, Kirk? 300 liters of fake blood in this movie? I mean, just in that one scene alone. Yeah, so come on. I mean, thank you, Peter Jackson.
Yeah, this is absurd. It's definitely a 2 out of 2. This is the easiest category. It's not even up for debate. I think everybody's scoring this a 2.
So that, I mean, maybe we'll differ here because now we have the ability to giveth or taketh away a bonus. Half a point, whatever it might be. So, Jay, this starts with you. Are you doing anything bonus? Yeah, Mr. Samaritan Rat Monkey.
I am going to give this a bonus. I am, and I
okay.
We understand.
Good answer.
No, I'm just waiting for you guys to make fun of me, but I am giving all right. So
for the boobs, we already know. Mike.
No, that's Mike. That's
Granny
That's
with the fanny, right?
No, we're going with the sphincter again, just because I love the creativity in this movie. Like I think that scene alone, when he just shits that thing out of his body and then it just comes alive and starts chasing Lionel throughout the house, I thought that was absolutely fucking brilliant.
Just so you know, for my notes, I wrote down +1 Jason butthole. So when I look back on this, you gave it a bonus point for buttholes.
It was very accurate. You wrote down it's very accurate. So
I did.
Now I feel really bad because I'll go to me because Kirk, it's your movie, so we'll end with you. I gave it a bonus point as well. Mine's different. To be honest with you, I never thought of buttholes this entire movie until now. But if I think there's one genre that is the most played out genre there is, I hate it at this point in time, with the exception of a couple movies, it's the zombie genre. And I know this movie was made in 1992. But I hadn't seen it. So very few zombie movies intrigue me anymore because they're just so boring and repetitive. I give it a bonus point because this was a zombie movie that kept my interest, and it was different to me. And I didn't feel it as a zombie, even though I knew it was a zombie movie. I read the synopsis going in. It just felt different. So to make me feel that way off of this genre or subgenre says a lot.
And I'm just going to throw this in real quick because I know Kirk, in the past, like with all the zombie movies that we have podcasted on the show, Mike just absolutely can't stand when we get another zombie movie on the wheel, because he's just like, oh my God, another zombie movie. So I was very curious to see how you were going to rate this movie, and you just made me happy.
So Kirk, what do you
Yeah,
got?
zombie movies are tough.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good ones. You just have to get something unique in there. This movie here, it's a cult classic, right? Peter Jackson's attached to it. The practical effects throughout. Talking about taking a huge creative swing and try. So I definitely gave this a point. It deserves every bit of it. All of its faults were all on purpose. So you have to be kind of cognizant of that. I deducted points for certain reasons, but none of this was done not on purpose. This was the movie he wanted to show you. So I gave it a 1.
What is your bonus point for, though?
All that. Do I have to be the practical effects? Like,
I mean,
full. I mean, this is 1992. This is 2 years before Jurassic Park. So I know CGI was definitely tempting, definitely out there. They did practical, and Peter Jackson was involved with it 110%. Which, yes, thank you.
So
check mark.
So, if I'm adding everything up right here, so Kirk, you come in the lowest. We're all
we're
right
the same
so,
scores except for 1.
Right, you're a 5.5, so slightly above average, and then Jason and I both come in at a 6. So we're all there.
A 6.
On IMDb, this puppy is a 7.5 and almost 100,000 reviews. So we are way lower than
it's the cult classic status. I mean, if people were reviewing this honestly, they would see its flaws. But God, this is a fun movie to watch. It just
and they probably rate differently too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess rating systems do matter,
and ours kind of limits us in certain fields, but that's a good thing and a bad thing.
Yes, but I mean, we're all roundabout. I mean, 5.5 to 6. I also would agree that we'd all recommend this, right? Yeah. So this is easily recommendable. I definitely understand. I'm ashamed that it took me this long to watch. Although I've been trying to watch it for 2 years, but Jason could never win when it was on the wheel for him. So
hey, you know what? Like I said, Dead Alive, you not seeing it until now is not as bad as Kirk still not seeing Lost Boys. I'm gonna lose sleep over that tonight.
Well, I felt better after he said that, so that did make me
I felt worse
a little bit. Well, it made me feel. I meant to say it made me feel better about myself.
Yeah, it should.
And the reason it's called Dead Alive in the United States, it was released in New Zealand as Brain Dead, is because there was already a movie in the United States called Brain Dead. And they won't.
How is that not one of your guys' facts at the beginning?
I left it for Jason, and Jason probably left it for me. So
I did. I thought you were going to say that one. So
it felt too obvious, so I skipped it.
Yeah. We get a bonus fact this week. Which is
I actually went to the middle this week to get some of these.
So that actually, though, ends our discussion on Brain Dead or Dead Alive, depending on what part of the country or world, I should say, what part of the world you live in. Crikey? I don't know. So I don't think that's
Australia.
Which is right next door.
It's potato.
It's Australian for beer.
It's Foster's. Australian for beer. So that ends that, though. And now it's time to look ahead to next week and take a ride on the Devil's Wheel.
The Devil's Wheel.
All right, so for our Devil's Wheel portion of events, what we each do is we take 3 movies, we put it on a wheel, we spin it, whatever it lands on, and that is what we watch the next week. Very easy concept. But before we
have to hand out the butthole bonus.
Wheel,
what are we doing?
We got to find out about butthole bonus points, which Jason said when we were off the air, and now I really have had a hard time going for. But maybe there are more butthole bonus points coming this week with the movie. I don't know, but we need to know what's on the wheel. So, Kirk, you had to make a change. What are your 3 movies?
Yeah, so I still have Event Horizon for Elliot. And I do this every time. I apologize,
Elliot. It's never going to change.
It's never going to change. Once I question...
It feels like a bit, but it's not a bit.
It's not. So I put Life Force on there, and I also put Runaway. So the
Jay,
update was Life Force.
Jay, are there any movies that are coming from behind for you or from the butthole?
I mean, it's very possible. For Butcher, we got Frankenhooker on here, so I'm sure she takes it from behind from 1990.
Whoa. We want to keep you as a fan. Only Jason takes it from behind. Don't worry.
Violence.
The Blob from 1988. And I threw on Bad Taste last week from 1987. Never seen it, so curious.
Does the Blob have a butthole? That's a question.
But it ate a lot of them.
Okay, Mike, what are your movies?
I just don't know.
I don't know where to go with this.
I mean, I want people to know Jason better, that he's not like. He's literally just saying this stuff, not thinking of it ahead of time, and this is just who he is. So
he's just obsessed with buttholes. I don't know.
the blob eats buttholes. Now we know. So this movie will be completely different when we do get to it. But my movies are the same ones that have been on there for 17 years. Because gosh darn it, one of them is winning eventually.
He's not
so
winning. Jason's gonna win here.
Not this week.
I have Tyler's Pool Party Massacre. I have The Trip and Creep. So those are my 3 movies. Let's just spin this thing.
We should put Butthole on there too.
Is there a specialized butthole movie? I don't know.
You guys don't want to talk about butthole now. I'm just waiting to see.
You wanted to give
my
a
movies
butthole
wins.
bonus.
I just want to see which one of my movies wins.
Yeah.
The good news is, it's one of mine, and it's The Trip. And I wrote down from 2021. Yeah. Honestly, I hope this movie's good. No, I'm kidding. So this, remember the girl we were talking about from Lamb?
Yes.
She's one of the stars of this movie. Her name's Numi. That's what her name is. But this is from 2021, and it is on Netflix. So low barrier of entry to watch. You don't have to look it up anywhere. It's called The Trip. I'll hold up a little picture that's on there.
What year?
2021. So
is this Icelandic horror? Is this?
This movie
Norwegian.
It's
all in Norwegian.
Numi's Norwegian. Yep. So, I watched this a couple years ago, and I want to revisit it. And
it looks like about the whitest movie I've ever seen in my life.
And well, it's Norwegian, so I don't know what to do with that. I didn't make the movie, but I'm very happy that we are actually back into a time frame that's relative to the last, 25, 30 years. So I think that's good. For what it's worth.
Yay.
Yeah.
So we will reconvene. I just want everybody to understand this is how all my picks go. You guys are like so very happy with each other, braiding each other's hair, fondling each other over movies. But then I win, and it's like, yay.
I will give it a
well, you have no choice.
Well, we have no choice, Kirk. We have to.
No, I have a choice. I can fake it pretty good.
I don't think you can on this one, but I'm curious. So 7 days are on the clock. We'll reconvene, same bat time, same bat channel, and discuss 2021's The Trip. So look it up. Numi is the main star. Numi.
There's like a Thor, Axel, Stig.
I mean, listen,
Erickson.
it's a different
Von
country.
Lear.
It's a different country.
I can't pronounce half of these names.
It doesn't matter. It's about the art of the movie. So.
Oh God, this is not an art house movie, is it?
It's not an art house movie.
Have you seen
whatsoever.
it, Jason? You haven't seen it. So Mike,
no, I've
you've
never
seen it,
this.
Though, right?
It's too
yes,
recent.
I watched it.
92% on
yeah,
Rotten
Jason.
Tomatoes.
Jason would not have seen it because it's from 2021, so he doesn't want.
Hey, I just watched 2 2023 movies last night.
How did you watch Renfield? Now that I'm thinking about it, like Kane Hodder makes sense because you act like it's from 1980 when he was in Friday the 13th. But how did you watch Renfield? How did that come up for you?
I just put it on the TV and watched it.
I didn't know if you thought it was from the 80s. So.
Bela Lugosi was kind of from the 60s at the beginning.
I guess
50s, 40s.
Maybe that's how you reason it. But that's our episode.
Director Tommy Wirkola. Very common name there. Yeah. Also wrote this one. Yeah.
He righted it.
He righted it.
Yes.
Listen, I just need you to scroll down if you're looking at IMDb under violence and gore, and it says severe. So you should know that at least that's going for it. That maybe. I mean, people in IMDb could also lie.
I'm excited.
Well, don't lie. It's like that's the most unexcited. Someone saying I'm excited that I'm so excited.
Well, the good news is I have to watch it, so I'll let you know what I think next week.
No shit. That's how this show
and
works.
You won, Mike, and you get to pick a new movie.
I won, and I get to take a movie off. I'm very excited over this right now.
3-2.
Yes, I'm one away from just the 3-way tie because the wheel always evens it out eventually. Well, except Jason, last time you came close, it just didn't even it out for you. But anyways, guys, that's the episode this week. So we appreciate everybody tuning in and rocking with us. Hopefully you enjoyed Dead Alive as much as we did, or maybe a little bit more because it sounds like we're just above average with it. But you can catch our podcast on many different platforms. So you can also find MVJ Horror on Twitter. We have an email address at mvjhorror@yahoo.com. We're on the Book of Faces. We are on Instagram, and you can email us directly through there. And Kirk has a amazing website on YouTube set up for us.
Yeah, I created YouTube. I did a good job at that. I did.
You're like the Al Gore.
Yes.
You created the internet.
Yes, I created the internet.
Show me the money.
Yes.
Wait, we even have Kirk. I forgot. We even have a TikTok channel now.
Yes, I have a lot of our videos uploaded on TikTok. I just uploaded a pretty neat video called Mic Drop. You should check that out, starring someone I know. But yes, definitely check it out. TikTok and or YouTube. It's redundant. They have the same videos, a little bit more on YouTube. But yes, I do have a TikTok, same name, all that.
TikTok, you don't stop. Yes, we got Stuck in the 80s, the show weekly with Jason. We have the Mic Drop with somebody else on this podcast that makes sense. And
it's a competition to see who gets more views, so vote with your eyes.
That's
or your butthole, whatever you want to do.
That's what I told my wife when I met her.
Yes.
Vote with your eyes.
Vote with your eyes. Drink this all in.
I luckily didn't say anything about buttholes to her, which is why we're married nowadays.
Yes.
So, Jason, I guess I like boobies. You like buttholes. It's we now know, and Kirk likes Alien.
Hey, I'm glad you made yourself laugh. The Trip. I might text you a little bit later to remind me about what this movie's title is. The original title is I Ogdi Dagger, if anyone in Iceland is looking that up or can pronounce that correctly.
I think it stands for The Trip. That's what I think it's.
Yeah, but I guarantee I'm not pronouncing that right. It's TVMA. I'll take that.
It's MA. Stands for mashed potatoes and applesauce. Ugh. I don't know. All right, so that ends this week's episode. We appreciate it. Peace.